for today's public hearing, the Vetting Commission established under Law Number 65 of the year 2023 on the external evaluation of judges and candidates for judges of the Supreme Court of Justice. I'm Scott Bales, the chair of the commission, and I declare this session open. The hearing is being conducted under Law Number 252 of the year 2023 on the external evaluation of judges and prosecutors in amending some normative acts, and under the Commission's Rules of Organization and Function. The subject of today's hearing is Dmitrii Fujenco, a judge of the Southern Court of Appeal, who was known until the end of 2024 as the Comrade Court of Appeal. Judge Fujenco, welcome.
Bine v-am găsit. Bună ziua, stimați membrii Comisiei Vetting.
It's good to meet you. Good afternoon, esteemed members.
Judge, as you noted from the hearing notice, in accordance with Article 17, Paragraph 3 of Law Number 252 and Article 33, Paragraph 4 and Article 38, Paragraph 8 of the Commission's rules, your evaluation was sent for examination by the entire Commission as the three-member panel could not reach unanimity on an approval of the hearing notice. We're joined by all of the 8 other Commission members. To your left, you'll see Commission members Lillian Ansu, Marcel van Wettering, Julian Russo, Willem Brouwer, Vice Chair Andre Bevel is directly in front of you, and to your right are Commission members Lavley Perlin and Yuri Gatskin. I and Commission member Garrett Springer are, of course, participating via video. You may also see present in the room a photographer who will take photographs at the opening of the hearing, and there will be members of the Commission Secretariat and possibly members of the public and the news media. The hearing is conducted with interpretation between Romanian and English. To allow for accurate interpretation, I ask everyone to speak clearly and slowly. Only one person should speak at a time. The proceedings are being recorded. The recordings of the Commission's hearings are generally available 3 days later on the Commission's website, vettingmd.eu. During the hearing, Commission members will ask questions. Please answer them truthfully and completely. Your explanations are important to the Commission in verifying your financial and ethical integrity. At the end of the hearing, you will be given an opportunity to make a brief statement. In posing questions to you, we will consider your privacy and, where required and possible, the privacy of your family members and close persons. We will leave out unnecessary details such as personal ID numbers, bank account numbers, or specific residence addresses for the protection of privacy. I ask you to do the same. I will now briefly review the evaluation process for Judge Fujenco. The Commission initiated the evaluation on November 7th last year by notifying the judge by email and asking him to complete and return an ethics questionnaire declarations required by Law Number 252. He did so on the 27th of November 2024. On the 13th of December 2024, in accordance with Article 37, subparagraph 3 of the rules, the judge was informed that his evaluation file had been randomly assigned to Panel A, which included Commission members Bevel, Perlin, and Ansu. The subject confirmed his receipt of this notification and did not request the recusal of any members. As part of its assessment, the Commission obtained information from many other sources, such as the National Integrity Authority, the State Fiscal Service, the General Inspectorate of the Border Police, other public institutions, financial institutions, and open sources. The Commission assesses the information that it obtains for its relevance and veracity. Between the 20th of March 2025 and the 5th of June 2025, the Commission asked Judge Fujenco to provide additional information to clarify certain issues. It did so in 4 rounds of questions. The judge provided answers and documents within the set deadline. On the 10th of June of this year, the panel notified the judge that it had completed its assessment and identified certain doubts regarding compliance with the financial criteria, and also invited him to participate in a public hearing on the 20th of June. On June 12th, the judge confirmed his participation in the scheduled hearing and requested access to the evaluation materials. The next day, he would receive access to those materials. On June 18th and 19th of 2025, Judge Fujenco provided additional explanations and documents, which the Commission has reviewed. On the 1st and 7th of July 2025, Judge Fujenco submitted additional information and documents, which the Commission has also reviewed. On the 11th of July 2025, Judge Fujenco asked the Commission to hold a hearing and hear from his brother-in-law. The panel accepted this request on the 14th of July, and on July 17th, it held a hearing with the judge's brother-in-law via video conference. On the 1st of August 2025, the panel notified Judge Fujenco that it had extended time to approve his report in accordance with Article 17, Paragraph 2 of Law Number 252 and Article 40, Paragraph 1 of the rules. Finally, bringing us to today, on August 13th of 2025, the panel notified Judge Fujenco that his evaluation file has been referred to the whole Commission due to the lack of unanimity. On the 15th of August, Judge Fujenco requested a hearing before the entire Commission. During the period August 20th through the 26th, the Commission asked Judge Fujenco another round of questions. And on September 5th of this year, the Commission invited Judge Fujenco to attend the hearing. Judge, do you wish to make any corrections or additions to the answers that you provided up to this point to the Commission's request for information?
Cred că mai bine la sfârșit.
I think I'd rather do that at the end. Thank you.
Well, Judge, just to be clear, if there's additional information that you think changes or adds to the answers you previously provided, we want you to identify that now so we can discuss it during the hearing. You will be allowed to make a closing statement, but again, if there are corrections or changes that need to be made, we need to know that now.
Da, mă scuzați, n-am înțeles.
I apologize, I didn't understand the question.
Am solicitat vis-a-vis de poziția Curții Supreme de Justiție
With respect to the position of the Supreme Court of Justice that was
prin încheiere din 12
expressed in the conclusion of 12th of September 2025, the case Oksana Mironov
versus Consiliul Superior
versus the Superior Council of Magistracy,
efectuarea expertizei
carrying
extrajudiciare
out an extrajudicial
de către
expert review
expertul judiciar
by
de
a
categorie
judicial expert
superioară
of senior
cu
category
dreptul de a efectua
with the
expertize
right
judiciare contabile,
to
economice
accounting
și
expert reviews
economico-inginerești
and economic and
scopul
engineering
determinării dacă
expert reviews in order to
există
determine
diferența
whether there is a
dintre
difference
averea,
between
cheltuieli și
the
venituri
wealth, expenses and
ale
income
membrilor familiei
of
Fujenco
the
Dmitrii
members
pentru
of
fiecare an, în
Dmitrii
perioada de
Fujenco's
verificare.
family for each of the years
Și în
covered
legătură
by
cu
the
aceasta,
verified
cu data
period.
de ieri,
In
am
connection
primit
with that,
răspuns
yesterday
de la
I received an
expertul
answer
Cara
from the
Ecaterina prin
expert
poștă
Cara
electronică
Ecaterina by
și semnat
email.
electronic
It was digitally signed
despre faptul că
about the
expertul
fact
este de
that the
acord de a
expert
efectua această
agrees to
expertiză.
carry out this expert review.
Și deja am predat
And
în forma
I,
electronică
provided in digital format all the documents that were available to me, including the evaluation file that I received previously from the Vetting Commission and all of the records that were collected by me personally during the the evaluation in order to obtain the conclusions of an expert. In relation to that, I'm not asking a postponement of a public hearing. I only, if possible, I would like to ask to be given the possibility to obtain the expert's conclusion and provide them to the Commission before a report on the external evaluation is issued. And to this end, I am providing you the answer of a judicial expert, Ekaterina Kara. I would like to mention that I informed the expert about the tight timeline. I haven't received an answer yet about how quickly this expert review can be carried out, and I hope that it will be within the most reasonable and fastest time. Thank you very much.
In light of that statement, I would suggest that we proceed with the hearing, and the Commission can then, in its deliberations, decide whether it will grant your request to postpone issuing its report until it receives additional information. I anticipate that the Commission may, if it does do that, set a deadline within which that additional information is submitted. But I invite my fellow Commission members, if they disagree or have comments on that approach, to please speak up.
Perhaps some clarification questions about this.
Mr. Fujenco, when did you contact the expert? On what date? Yesterday. And I would like to add in this context that in my answer to the Vetting Commission, I mentioned that I was on a sick leave, and if needed, I can provide the confirmation document. On Tuesday, I was back at work last week. And if I'm not mistaken, last Friday, on YouTube, I saw the solution that was issued by the Supreme Court of Justice and the reasons for rejecting the motion brought up by the representative of Judge Mironov. Based on those circumstances, I decided to go along this way, to make sure that we understand that all of us understand the same thing. Mironov case is before the Supreme Court of Justice. In that case, they asked for a judicial accounting expert review. That request was rejected because it could have been requested or done previously during the evaluation and before the Superior Council of Magistracy, if I remember correctly the reasons of the court. So you contacted the expert yesterday. It was Monday. Yesterday it was the first working day of this week. Ms. Kara, is she a certified accounting expert from the Ministry of Justice? Yes, exactly. From the register that is published on the website, on the portal of the Ministry of Justice. Thank you. Besides the confirmation that she is available to carry out this expert review, did she give you any estimate of a timeline? No, she did not, because she did not see the amount of work she has to do, and therefore I couldn't get any information about that yet.
Deci, și nici nu avem
And
niciun fel de,
so you-
înțeleg, informații
From
sau
what I understand, we have no information
pe baza cărora
based
Comisia ar
on
putea să
which the
aprecieze
Commission
care ar fi
could
termenul
determine
rezonabil
what
pentru
would be a reasonable timeline for this. I think an answer will come 2-3 days, very quickly, because all of the information, all the materials have been sent to her, and the expert has them. At least she could assess the amount of work that is needed.
Și în viziunea dumneavoastră, cum
Okay,
trebuie să
and
aibă loc
you
această
believe,
expertiză?
how do you
Ce
believe
trebuie
this
să facă?
expertise
La ce
should be
întrebări
carried
trebuie
out?
să
What
răspundă?
questions should be answered within that process? I have formulated 3 questions. If there is a difference, if yes, what's the difference? And if the calculation that was made by the vetting commission is a correct one, or the modality of calculation, how it was calculated.
Acum, o întreb, dumneavoastră cunoașteți,
Okay,
există vreo
another
metodologie
question. Do you know if
aprobată
there
de
is
Ministerul
any
Justiției
methodology
sau de
approved by
Centrul
the
Național de
Ministry
Expertise
of
Judiciară
Justice
pentru
or the
determinarea
Center of
averii inexplicabile?
Justice Expertise to determine wealth? No, I'm not a specialist in that. That is why I actually went to a specialist in that field.
Așa.
Okay.
Înseamnă că dumneavoastră
This means
solicitați
that
expertului nu doar
you
să
actually
calculeze,
ask the expert
dar
not
să
only to
evalueze și
calculate, but also
metodologia de
to
calcul.
evaluate the calculation methodology. In my practice as a judge, if the question is incorrect or the expert is unable to answer the question, he would usually answer. This question cannot be answered because of lack of understanding or information. Okay, my question was about something else. The Commission is making some calculations about unexplainable wealth, according to an inexplicable wealth, which is annexed to the report. So the expert that you are contracting, or the person that you want to do this expertise, will apply the same expertise? I don't know, but I sent the whole information as I received it from the Commission to the expert. I have sent every single thing that I received from the Vetting Commission, including the regulation. So she has it all. I cannot, tell the expert how to make the expertise. That's why she is the expert. I just asked her some questions, and I'm looking forward to hear her conclusions. Okay, what would be the role of the Commission in that process? What do you think? The role of the Commission is stipulated in the law. No, I mean in... I want to make sure that the translators are keeping up. No, the role of the Commission in the process of expertise, the one that you require. I mean, the expertise is outside the legal competence that I have. So in this case, I am in position that I cannot avoid this situation, and taking into account my practice, I understand the risks, and if I do not ask this kind of expertise at this phase, I might have issues because, the expert doesn't know what is the final position of the Commission. I mean, this question is quite complicated, but taking into account the created situation, for me, there is this risk. And I want to avoid the risks. This is just, to make sure that my rights of protecting myself are protected, are respected. Okay, so you admit that for one expert, this is going to be difficult to verify those calculations without having a final report from the Commission. These kind of questions were formulated by the Supreme Court of Justice. So, taking into account these questions from the previous rounds, the judge already knew about the existing problem, the calculation method, all the calculations that were done, and this means that he had the possibility, taking into account those previous rounds, to formulate these kind of questions, to formulate them for an expert. At least I heard this in the session and in the trial. So it was verbally exposed, and we don't know the end of we don't know the reasons behind it. Okay, last question. And the possibility to have protection, let's say, can be used within the evaluation of the report by the Commission. Listen, I can have an opinion on this, but I just hope that I will not go into trial with this. But if the question is asked in front of Supreme Court, I don't know what their position is going to be related to this question. Okay, I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
I have.
All right, colleagues, as I said, I think we could, in our post-hearing deliberations, consider
But
and decide on...
can I still very shortly get... Can I very shortly get some answer? Because, sorry, I lost. My first question is very simple. We know that expert is someone who has deep knowledge, experience and skill about some kind of specific particular area. And please, could you answer us with one sentence, what kind of expert we talk about?
Okay, actually I said already that this person has an experience of 25 years in the field of accountancy. Just a second, I'm gonna go through the...
Expert. My second question, could you please provide us academical CV or something that we could understand who is the expert and
in the answer of the expert, we have this.
No, thank you. But I ask some kind of confirmation that we talk about expert.
Okay, so the register of legal experts is a public document accessible for everyone. And it's not about proving that it's an expert. I mean, that person is in that register.
All right, I believe we should move on. Judge Fujenco, you provided previously to the Commission declarations and answers to the ethics questionnaire. Are there any changes that you want to make in your responses to those questions? You had provided your completed declarations and questionnaire on November 27th of 2024. Is there anything that you need to correct or update with regard to them?
No, thank you. I support fully the declaration that I made in the previous rounds of questions. Everything I declared, I support today.
All right. Members of the Commission will now ask you some additional questions. We'll try to keep our questions short and to the point. We ask that your answers be short and to the point as well. Commission member Andrei Bevel, our vice chair, will, I believe, start with the questions.
Bună ziua încă o dată, domnul Fujenco.
So, hello once again, Mr. Fujenco.
Așa cum ați
So, as you probably understood from the notification, the Commission identified 285,855 lei as an unexplainable wealth, according to the article of the law. So, the difference is more than the admissible threshold with a total amount of 51,000. So the first thing we want to discuss is the appeal that was made by you. In the fourth round of questions, you actually requested the National Bureau of Statistics information to be amended, and also the answers of thousands of participants that answered, that were chosen for the answer randomly. So please confirm if the information stays the same. So you received support from your parents-in-law. Also, you so the price for the clothing that was used was from Romania, and that's why you said the prices are different. Also, you had no expenses related to the health, and also reducing to the minimum the daily expenses was also one of your requests. So am I right in this?
Traducătorii au primit o copie. Puteți, vă rog, părinții dați o copie. Scuzați.
Yeah, it was just clarification for the translators. Okay, so can you confirm that these are arguments for you, that you asked to reduce the amount? Yes, I confirm this. And besides that, in the previous hearing, I have mentioned that the conclusions that were done in point number 9 are discussable, to be discussed within the hearing. And I'm referring to evaluation report point 73. So it's a different case there. In that case, it's about the methodology that was published on the webpage of the National Bureau of Statistics. And it is written that the incomes and expenses calculated by the National Bureau are also including the assets, not only the... So, the in-kind income, not only the financial part, but receiving goods from the household of my parents-in-law cannot be subjected to that, because it's not about income or expenses. It's about our parents-in-law bringing us products from their households, like food products. I'm speaking about simple visits that they were making, and they were bringing us a lot of products from their household. And it was not subjected to any expenses from our side. Okay, about the exclusion of the indicator for SAP for clothes and shoes for the whole family. You ask for this exclusion for the whole evaluation period?
că, știți, dacă așa mai intensiv, undeva până la anul 2018,
If to think back in time, before the year 2018, we were buying all our clothes and shoes in Romania.
Ok, dar asta oricum presupunea o
Okay,
cheltuială.
but you nevertheless had some expenses. I'm not excluding that, but I'm talking about the fact that you were spending some money, even if it was, let's say, 30% less than the amount stipulated. I also showed the prices that we got from the web pages of those clothes producers from that country. So, I mean, it was also on sales, and that's also part of difference of the price. And also we had the expenses like transportation to that country. I just want to mention that to Galați region in Romania there are 60 kilometers from the border.
Dacă inițiem o discuție de genul
If we
asta,
start
pe partea
this kind of a
dumneavoastră
discussion,
să admitem ipotetic că ați făcut
let's
aceste achiziții la
hypothetically
prețuri mai
say
mici,
that you
dar
bought
ați
those
avut
things
alte
on
cheltuieli.
very good prices, but you
Transportul,
also had
cartea de
additional
bilete.
expenses like the green card for the
care,
car insurance
iarăși,
and
nu știu
gas
cât
for the car and so on and so forth.
definitiv trebuie de redus
And
această,
by the way, by the end of the day, I don't know how much you can discount to actually reach that amount.
Vedeți, de exemplu, la Cahul.
Listen, let's take an example. Cahul region, the south of the country. People would go shopping to Chișinău or to Galați in Romania. Partially they were shopping locally, but most of them they were shopping in Romania. It was convenient. And the distance from Cahul to Chișinău, it's much higher, and the prices in Chișinău are much higher than in Romania. I mean, we were doing this because it made sense for us. And even from the questions of the Vetting Commission, they were asking about very concrete dates. Why you went for one day to Romania? Why you had so many tours to Romania and back? So you were crossing the border. I mean, that's actually very simple to explain. That was the purpose. We were shopping there. Of course, I do not remember all the dates when I exited Republic of Moldova. And I don't really remember. We had many. In the same day, we would go in the morning, come back in the evening. And if I'm not mistaken, only for 5 years they keep the information at the border, at the customs, about people crossing the border. So, I don't know. For me, it's quite difficult now to remember the exact dates. But I know that we were constantly shopping in Galați, in this Romanian city. And even if you go today to this city, you will see that half of the population of Cahul, Moldovan region, they are still shopping there in this city, Galați, in Romania. Mr. Fujenco, you insist on this reduction of consumer population, but in the same time the income of your households are bigger than the national average. So you could definitely cover some expenses taking into account your income. In some years, your income is 6 times bigger than the average per country. In some years, even bigger. From one side, you say that you didn't make savings, you didn't have expenses, and then the logical question comes: how did you use those money? Okay, I want to mention that it's not about us living in such conditions. We didn't buy stuff, we didn't buy food. When in our family we were planning to buy some essential things that would be, big expenses, we were making some savings before that. We would reduce our expenses. And if, for example, we had a usual year, we would not have those big expenses. But taking into account that the year 2012 and 2013, those years were complicated. In 2012, my wife was taking care of a child. She did not work. We took some banking credit, some loans. We didn't have sufficient money to cover the previous expenses when the child was born. And I'm speaking about the second son now. And that was a totally different time, and that was the cause of it. But when our incomes started to grow, obviously we started to spend more. I mean, the situation changed. That's the explanation. We did not always save or have a difficult situation or save maximum as possible. We did that only in the periods when we really needed to do that. Okay, but starting from 2018, your family starts to use banking cards a lot, and those expenses for daily consumption are much, much higher than the CCP. The CEP. You know, before 2018, we were not doing that, not because we were hiding something. Nothing essentially changed in terms of our decisions, financial decisions. We just started to have more income, and we didn't have big expenses at that time. We already had a flat at that time, so everything was quite arranged. It was stable, if I can say. And we were shopping mainly with the card, and the incomes were much bigger because our salary got bigger, my salary, my wife's salary got bigger. It was actually, my wife's salary was at that period bigger than my salary. Mr. Fujak. Okay, let me simplify the question just to receive a clear answer from your side. How do you explain that from one side you are asking for the reduction of CEP for the whole period of the evaluation, but from the other side, at least for 5 years, your expenses are much bigger, at least for 5 years, according to your banking statement? Okay, in my previous public hearing, I have mentioned that the help from our parents decreased. And starting from 2018, I think 2017 even, I don't remember exactly, they stopped actually helping us so much, and it was not so important for the budget of our family, and because we were having a better income. So I am not asking for the whole period. I'm actually referring to those years when the incomes were lower. And of course, the expenses were bigger because we were at the beginning. Can you tell me what years exactly you refer to? I'm referring to 2012, 2017. Maybe a part of 2018. I was never, calculating with a calculator how much goes where, and
Așa eu
Approximately, I can tell you, from what I remember. Previously, you have declared that the material help from your parents-in-law,
Adică ajutorul cu produse
and I'm
agricole
speaking
din
about
partea sucrului, a
products,
durat
yes,
până în
food
anul
products.
2020,
This lasted till 2020,
după care a scăzut
and
în
then
intensitate.
it decreased, so
Dar în perioada
considerably
respectivă,
decreased.
2012,
And my question is,
2019
between
inclusiv,
2012 and
în care ajutorul a
2019,
el a fost de aceeași intensitate în fiecare an
they
sau
used to
a
give you the
fluctuat cumva?
same amount or fluctuated? So how much was it actually, the
eu
support?
am menționat și am avut
I
în
have
vedere
mentioned
că
this
în
actually,
2020,
that in
deja aproape
2020
era foarte mic
it
acest
was
ajutor.
already very small, that kind of help
Dar,
from my
scădeința
parents-in-law.
s-a pornit
But
esențial
this
deja din anul
started, the
2018.
decrease started in 2018.
Și așa și a fost.
This is how actually it happened.
În primul rând, la noi
First of
veniturile
all,
s-au majorat. În al doilea
This
rând,
was because
deja
we
vârsta
started to
la
have much bigger
soțul, la
income.
părinții deja
And the second
era
reason was that
mai,
my parents-in-law, they
adică
started to be
vârsta
much
mai
older.
înaintată
They
și,
didn't have so much,
adică noi
you
n-am
know,
avut nevoie de
health
acest
power to produce so
cred că
much,
deja
and we
părinții noștri
didn't
mai
need
mult
it
au
so
nevoie de
much.
ajutor.
I think there is a point in life when our parents need more help from us than we need from them.
Haideți să discutăm despre anul 2012.
Okay, let's
și anume
discuss a little bit
venitul
about the
primit
income
la
in
botezul
2012.
fiului
You had a baptize of your child, of your son, that year.
În anul 2012,
In 2012,
Comisia a identificat o
So
balanță
the
negativă,
Commission identified a
dintre venituri și
negative
cheltuielile
balance
de-
between
care
the
poate varia
income and
între 23
expenses
și
between
48.000 de lei.
23 and 48,000 lei.
În afară de
And this is
argumentele cu privire la,
besides the
aplicarea
arguments
CCP.
on
Cum
CEP.
explicați această
So
balanță
how can
negativă și
you
cum a fost
explain this
acoperită
negative
de către
balance and how was it covered by you?
Balanța dată negativă a
Okay,
fost
so this
constatată de
negative
Comisia
balance
Vetting
was
anume și
actually
din
found by the
calculul
Vetting
efectuat de
Commission,
Comisie.
taking
Eu
into
insist
account the calculation that they
Suntem
made.
convins
And I
că noi am
insist
trăit
on the fact
din banii
that
care erau la
we
dispoziția
lived
noastră.
on the money that we had at that time,
Câteva
using the
surse
money that we had
suplimentare
at that
noi n-am
time.
avut.
We didn't have any additional sources of income.
Asta este răspunsul meu.
This is my answer.
În prima rând de întrebări.
In the first round of question, you declared that in 2012 you organized the baptize of your son,
pentru care nu ați
and
suferit niciun fel de
you
cheltuieli,
didn't have any expenses.
dar ați declarat că ați fi
But you
primit
declared
donații la rude în
that you
legătură cu
received
acest eveniment în
donations
valoare
from
de 25.000
relatives,
de lei.
25,000 lei, the total value of gifts, financial gifts.
Acest venit
So, this income
la acel moment cam 50% din
was
venitul
approximately
dumneavoastră anual de
50% of
judecător.
your annual income as a judge.
Care este motivul pentru care această
What is
sumă
the
nu apare în
reason
declarația dumneavoastră
that you didn't declare that amount in
de
your
avere și interes
annual
pentru anul
declaration
2012?
for 2012?
În primul rând, asta a fost
First of all,
omiterea din partea mea.
I guess this is an omission from my side.
Era vorba de o tradiție și
It's about traditions
suma
in the
dată nu a
country.
fost primită,
That
adică
amount
ca
was not received like
una întreagă
in
de
one
la
installment
cineva.
from one person.
Asta a fost,
It was
niște
actually
oaspeți, eu nu sunt
Guests
minte
that are doing this
cât în
in
total,
our
dar până la
culture.
15,
It was
16,
approximately
deja nu țin
16
minte precis,
people. I don't remember the exact amount,
persoane, care au
but they
acordat,
all contributed
acest,
with some money.
sprijin material
This
familiei
was like a
noastre în
material
legătură cu
support for our
nașterea fiului.
family. This is something normal related to the birth of a child. And I never counted who exactly gave how much.
Tradiția nu prevede
It's a
careva,
tradition.
adică,
It's not about having an accountant for that or any
în
evidence.
orice caz, eu
But
conștientizez
anyways,
faptul
I
că suma
understand
dată
that
urma să
that
fie
amount had
declarată.
to be declared by me.
Știți, dacă
You know, if I can go back in time and change that, I would declare that money, definitely. But it was not because of a bad intention, because once again, I want to reiterate, that amount was just something relatives, close people gave, and it was not subjected for a tax. And in that case, I didn't think of showing this asset. I believe at that time I was not aware that I must do this for that kind of money. And it was not about me as a person studying law. I'm thinking this just as a person, as a human being. When I received big amounts from my parents, that's when I started to think about the fact that I need to actually declare those. I realized that that's something that I need to show, because otherwise I will have questions, from where do I have such money? And since then I started to think in a different way. I changed the way I think about this. I always show now everything that comes into my account. But I can explain that in 2012, I just didn't think about that because I was at the beginning of my career. And trust me, I had no bad intention. It was just a simple human omission.
You omitted because you did not know the legal provisions, or you forgot about those donations when you were filling out your declaration? Honestly, I didn't even think about it. It's as simple as that. For the same year, 2012, the Commission quantified most of your expenses based on the CEP indicator and found that your annual expenses were supposed to be 74,654 lei. That would mean that for a four-member family in urban area, the monthly expenses would be 6,221 lei per month. Is your position that you were not spending that much, or you were living on less than 6,000 lei a month? Yes, I support this position. Should we understand that instead of using those funds for current expenses, food, utilities, transportation, you paid insurance, credits you had that year, and you just survived with an amount that was smaller, but it's not clear how much exactly it was. Is that your answer? I paid off the credits because, paying credits over time, it was much harder than putting them off all together and living. That's what I was thinking. That was our experience, 2 credits at the same time. Once more, when it comes to the insurance, the green card, again, we saved in that respect. You know how it worked for us. In 2011, we drove our friend's car abroad. And in 2012, they used our car. Well, we drove together. So we gave them that possibility later. In 2013, we have a similar situation where we found a negative balance, a smaller one, 7,787 lei.
Și aceasta iarăși rezultă în
That
principiu
again
din cheltuielile
results
de
from
consum
the
ale populației.
consumption
În
expenditure for
acel
the
an, indicele
population.
respectiv era de
In that
86.563
year, the
de
indicator
lei,
was
constituind
86,563 lei. That would
7.200
mean
de lei pe lună.
7,213 lei per month.
Nu ați cheltuit
Do you still
cu familia dumneavoastră de
sustain
4
that
membre, nu ați cheltuit mai
your
mult de 7,
four-member
ați cheltuit mai puțin de
family
7.000 de
spent
lei
less
pe lună.
than 7,000 lei a month?
Da, noi am trăit
Yes,
reșind
we
din
were
sursele care
living
au fost la dispoziția
based on
noastră.
the resources
Și
available
vis-a-vis
to
de
us.
acele întrebări care sunt
And
acum
with the
formulate,
questions that you
eu
are
iarăși
asking
vreau
now,
să revin,
again, I would like to
deoarece nu
go
toți
back
membrii
to
au
them
fost,
because not all
în
members
ședința
were
sau la audieri publice precedente.
part of the
Da,
previous
nu se
public
referă la
hearing.
perioada verificării.
This
Dar
is
încă o
out
dată,
of the
în
evaluation
anul
period, but once more,
1998,
in
când eu am început
1998,
să
when I
activez
started to
în calitate
work
de procuror,
as a prosecutor,
primele 6 luni,
the first
eu
6
n-am primit
months
niciun
I
salariu.
haven't received
Așa a fost situația
anything
la
for
noi în
salary.
țară.
That was the situation
Și eu
in
am
our
fost
country.
ajutat
And I was helped
integral de părinții
entirely
mei.
by my parents.
Am fost întreținut ca un student.
They supported me like a
Da, eu am
student.
lucrat în calitate de procuror.
I
dar
was
n-am
working
avut
as a
niciun
prosecutor,
ban.
and I
Am primit doar
haven't
un
been
pix
receiving a penny. I only got a
și
pen
hârtie.
and
Asta e
paper.
tot.
That is everything I was
Uh,
getting.
Pe urmă, când am început să primesc
Later
două
on, when I
salarii,
started to get
într-o
2
lună,
salaries in 1 month,
luând în considerație că venitul era prea mare
the income was
și
too high,
impozitele au
and
fost majorate
the tax
în legătură cu aceasta.
was
Adică,
increased
ce
in
eu vreau
relation
să
to that.
vă spun
So
prin
what I'm
acest
trying to
exemplu,
say using this example
noi
is that
avem experiență
we
și
have
știm cum de
experience,
trăit
we know how to
cu,
live
veniturile mici
with
dacă
a
suntem
small
în această
income,
situație.
if that's the situation we face,
Indiferent ce este scris
regardless
și cum
of
este
what is written
calculat
and
CCP.
how CEP is calculated.
Haideți să discutăm atunci despre
Let's
donațiile pe
talk
care
about
le-ați
the
primit în
donations you
2015.
received in 2015.
În anul 2015,
In 2015,
ați declarat că ați fi primit
You declared
donații
you
de la
received
rude în
donations from
valoare
your
de
relatives
aproximativ
in the amount of
27.000 de
around
lei.
27,000 lei.
Cu două, însumat, cu
That
două
was total
ocazii,
amount on 2 occasions.
pentru aniversarea căsătoriei
It
și la
was
ziua
your
de naștere
anniversary of
soției
your
voastre.
marriage and your
Ambele
wife's
donații au fost
birthday. Both
declarate de
donations were
dumneavoastră
declared
doar în
by
cadrul
you
rundilor de întrebări.
only during the question rounds.
Deși aveați o obligație
Even
legală,
though you had the
aceste
legal
donații nu au
obligation,
fost declarate în
You
declarația
still
introdusă în
failed
declarația
to
cu privire
add
la venituri,
these
la avere și interes
donations
pentru anul
into your
2015.
2015 Declaration of Assets and
Care
Personal
este
Interest.
explicația dumneavoastră de ce aceste
What's
donații
your
nu au fost
explanation?
introduse în
Why
declarație?
didn't you add these donations to your declaration?
Aceeași explicație ca
The
și
explanation
în
is
legătură cu,
similar
deci botezul copilului.
to my
Îmi pare rău,
child's
dar
christening.
așa s-a primit
I
la
am
noi.
sorry, but this is
Deci,
how it
pur
happened.
și simplu nu am gândit
I
despre
did not
acest fapt.
think about it.
Vă spun așa.
I'm saying it as it is.
Deci dumneavoastră aveți 6 cazuri de
So
donații
you have 6
depistate de
cases of
comisie,
donations found
în
by the
care,
Commission.
În anul ați primit 3 donații
So
în
you received
2012,
3 donations in
2014 și
2012, 2014, and 2015 that you did not declare at all. You only declared them to the Commission when we started to have discussions about the deficit you had those years, and you presented these donations as sources of income.
Pe de altă parte,
On
în
the other
declarația
hand,
dumneavoastră depusă
in
la
your declaration filed with
pentru
NIA
2016,
for
2020,
2016, 2020, and
aveți alte
2022,
donații de la
you
părinți
have
care le-ați
other
declarat.
declarations from your parents that you declared.
Ce s-a întâmplat în 2016?
What
ca să
happened in
începeți să declarați
2016 that you started to
De
declare
exemplu,
donations?
dacă noi excludem
For instance, if we exclude the donation of 2016, nothing is changing. I still think we had extra that year.
Acest fapt eu vreau să menționez
I
că
want to say
donațiile
that
nu sunt legate
those donations
cu
were
momentul
not
că eu special
related
ceva
to the
am
moment
invocat
that I
pentru a acoperi careva
deliberately
neajunsuri.
claimed something in order to cover
Acele
some
donații pur și simplu erau
shortage.
mari
Those donations were large
nu
amounts.
este criteriu că cele care
It's
sunt mici
not like a criterion that the smaller ones don't need to be
Eu
declared.
recunosc și
I admit,
conștientizez faptul
I am
că
aware
cum că urmează să
that
fie declarate
I
toate
should have
donațiile.
declared all of the
Nu-mi dați
donations, but I did not realize it
Iar
back
când
then.
au apărut donațiile
And when
mari,
I had
erau
bigger
sume,
donations, we're
250.000
talking
de lei,
250,000 lei,
660.000 de lei.
660,000 lei.
Evident că sumele
Of
sunt
course,
foarte mari.
those amounts being so
cifre
large
absolute.
in absolute numbers.
Și atunci eu
And
am înțeles că
at the time,
adică
I
este
understood
necesar de declarat,
that it is
deoarece suma
necessary
este
to
foarte
declare
mare,
because the amount was very large,
foarte greu va fi
and it
pe
would
urmă de
be very
explicat de unde
difficult
am
to
aceste
explain
venituri.
later where
Adică
from did I
atunci
get
eu
that
am
income.
conștientizat
That's when I
această
realized
necesitate.
that need to declare.
Dar încă o dată eu
Once
înțeleg
more,
că și
I
cele
understand
sume care
that
sunt mult
the
mai
other
mici,
amounts that are
ele-
much
ele
smaller,
tot urmau să
they
fie declarate.
also should have been declared.
Haideți să discutăm despre anul 2017
Let's talk about
despre
2017
achiziția unui vehicul.
And about the purchase of a
În
car.
2017,
In
Comisia a
2017,
identificat
the
o
Commission
potențială balanță
found a
negativă
potential
dintre
negative
venituri
balance
și cheltuieli
between income and
de
expenses of
159.867 de lei. În principal, aceasta
159,867
se
lei.
datorează
That was
potențialei
mostly
achiziții de
because
către
of
gospodăria noastră a
potential purchase
unui automobil
of a car by your
înregistrat pe
household
numele
that
soacrei
was
noastre.
registered on your
Este vorba
mother's
despre un automobil de model
name.
Lexus,
It was a Lexus car
din anul 2000, produs în anul 2012,
manufactured year
care
2012
a fost achiziționat în anul
that was
2017
purchased in
pentru suma de
2017
268.910
for
lei.
268,910
nu a
lei.
fost vândut
That vehicle
până în prezent, din câte cunoaștem.
hasn't been sold yet, from what we know.
Este înregistrat pe
It
numele
is
soacrei dumneavoastră,
registered in the name of your mother-in-law,
dar soacra dumneavoastră nu deține un
but
permis de
your
conducere.
mother-in-law does not have a driving license.
Din explicațiile dumneavoastră
From your
și
explanations
ale cumnatului
and
dumneavoastră care a
your
fost audiat de
explanations of your
comisie,
brother-in-law, who was heard by the commission,
vehiculul a fost cumpărat
this
de
vehicle
cumnatul
was
dumneavoastră
purchased
pentru a
by your
facilita
brother-in-law
mobilitatea socrului
to
dumneavoastră,
facilitate the mobility of your father-in-law,
care a suferit din cauza unor probleme de
who
sănătate în
had
acea
some
perioadă.
health issues. that
Ulterior,
time.
socrul dumneavoastră
Subsequently, your
nu a dorit să folosească acest
father-in-law
vehicul,
did not want to use that
susținând
vehicle,
că acesta nu este
and
potrivit pentru mediul rural
stating that it
unde
was not
locuiește el.
suitable for the rural area where
Totuși,
he was
acest
living.
vehicul nu a fost vândut
However,
nici până
the
în ziua de
vehicle
astăzi
hasn't
și este
been sold
folosit
yet
de
and is
către
being
familia
used
dumneavoastră,
by
mai
your
exact de
family,
soția dumneavoastră.
by your wife to be precise.
Acum, întrebările noastre ar fi următoarele.
Now, our
Dacă
questions are the
socrul
following.
dumneavoastră a considerat că acest
If your
vehicul
father-in-law
nu este
believed
potrivit,
that
că
that
nu-i
vehicle
place,
is not suitable, that he did
că nu
not
este adecvat
like it, that it
pentru
is not
drumurile din
appropriate for the
localitate,
roads in
care
his
este motivul
community,
pentru care nu a fost
why
vândut acest vehicul, ca să fie
wasn't it
eventual
sold
cumpărat un vehicul
and
care este potrivit scopului
purchase a
respectiv.
different one that would be suitable?
Totodată,
At
După
the same
procurarea
time,
acestui
after
vehicul,
purchasing that vehicle,
acest automobil
that car
a fost exploatat
was used
în interesele familiei socrului.
in the interest of the family of my father-in-law,
Întrucât dumnealui
because
nu era în stare
he was not
să conducă automobil la distanțe,
able to drive a car
să
for
spunem așa, mari,
long distances
din cauza problemelor
because of
de sănătate.
his health issues.
Respectiv, altă persoană decât
Therefore,
soția mea sau, de exemplu,
Someone
eu,
else but my
dar
wife
în
or
principiu soția mea,
myself, but mostly my wife,
nu erau la dispoziția
wasn't
socrilor.
available
Adică
to drive my
noi
parents-in-law.
suntem unicii copii care au
We are
rămas
the
în
only children
țară,
who stayed in the country
deoarece
because
fiică împreună
the
cu
other daughter
soțul ei
with her husband
sunt, adică au plecat în străinătate.
left the country.
Prin urmare, doar familia mea a
So
putut să...
it was only my
Care
family
este situația?
that could. So
Eu,
what's the
în acel
situation?
moment,
At that time,
activam
I was
la
working
Comrat.
in Comrat,
Și, de exemplu, eu n-am putut
and
să fiu la
I
dispoziția
couldn't
soților
be available to
cu
my
mașina
parents-in-law
familiei noastre.
using the car of our family.
Și dacă era nevoie,
And
de exemplu, la
when it
spital,
was needed, for instance, to drive to the hospital,
dar nevoia aceasta a fost și destul
and
de
that
des,
need was happening quite
adică
often,
necesitatea, anume fiica mea, soția
it
mea,
was my wife
a condus automobilul
who was
împreună cu soțul,
driving the car,
adică cu
was driving
tatăl
my
ei, câteodată
father-in-law,
și
her
cu
father,
mama ei,
sometimes
până
her
la
mother
Chișinău,
too,
la
was
spital.
driving them to Chișinău, to
Și
the
nu odată,
hospital.
de mai multe
And
ori.
it wasn't only once that it happened, it was happening many, many times.
Puteți să ne aduceți aminte, vă rog,
Could you
când a
please
fost
remind
externat
me,
socrul dumneavoastră?
when was your father-in-law
În ce lună?
Dacă nu mă
discharged?
greșesc, pe 1 februarie, dar
If I'm not mistaken, it was February the 1st.
adică,
But
există o rezervă în adică,
the-
cu privire la aceasta, dar mi se pare
I'm
că
not
totuși
entirely
1
sure. I think it was February
Da.
1st.
Dar Lexusul respectiv a fost
But that
cumpărat abia în
Lexus was
noiembrie.
purchased in November
2017.
2017
deoarece
because
medicii au spus
the
că
doctors said
peste jumate de an
that in half a year
va fi claritatea
there would be
în ce stare
clarity
va fi
about
socrul nostru.
the condition of our
Deoarece după
father-in-law.
problema care a
Because
fost la
after
dumnealui cu
the
sănătatea,
health issue
el
that
era
he
foarte
had,
grav bolnav,
he was
reabilitarea merge în timp de
severely
6 luni.
ill.
Și
The
iată cum va
rehabilitation
fi după
takes 6
expirarea
months.
termenului de 6
So
luni,
after those
așa
6,
și va rămâne dumnealui deja
so
pe parcursul vieții.
the state he would be in 6 months' time would be the state of his entire further life. And it didn't make any sense to buy that car earlier because we did not know how he would be. And as soon as we were sure that he was okay, that his
nu existau.
motor problems, like movement problems, were not there anymore, that's when we bought the car.
Cum explicați atunci
How
faptul
do you
că în aceeași
explain
perioadă
that
el
in
a
the same
continuat
period
să
of time
utilizeze
he continued
alte
to use
autovehicule,
other
Renault
vehicles,
Scenic, Opel Combo?
Renault Scenic, Opel
Asta
Combo,
rezultă din asigurări,
that
din,
results from insurances.
Automobilele au fost asigurate,
Those
cred că de mai
cars
înainte, eu
have
nu
been
știu, dar nu țin
insured
minte.
from before. I don't remember
precis.
it now for
Dar
sure.
vreau să vă spun
But
că
I would
el
like to
aproape
tell
un an
you
n-a
that
condus deloc automobilele.
He hasn't been driving
Adică
for
chiar și
almost
dacă a fost
1
la volan,
year.
asta era
I mean,
ceva
If
nesemnificativ.
he
Era
was
foarte
behind the
greu.
wheel, it was
Și,
very
apropo,
significant. It was really hard for him. And by the
acest
way,
lucru poate fi ușor
this
verificat
can be
în
easily
afară de
checked
asigurare.
besides
Adică
the
revizia
insurance,
tehnică,
the technical inspection.
După revizia tehnică se poate ușor
After
de
you
văzut
can
că el nu
see
a
in
mers
the
sau a
technical
mers
inspection that he was driving or
foarte
driving.
puțin.
He was not driving or
Extrem de
he drove
puțin.
very,
Eu nu
very
știu
little.
cât, dar
I don't know
foarte
how
puțin.
much, but it was really very little.
Asta cu certitudine eu pot să invoc.
I can state that with certainty.
El nu era în stare.
He was not able to.
Și dacă el nu l-a folosit,
Well,
nu i-a
he
plăcut,
didn't use it. He didn't like it.
de ce nu a fost vândut
Why?
până ziua de azi?
Wasn't that
În
car
2024
sold
el și-a
to this
cumpărat
date?
altă
In
mașină,
2024, he bought a
Dacia
different
Logan,
car,
cred că
Dacia Logan, I
așa
think
și
he meant.
noi am declarat comisia.
And we
aceasta.
declared that
Noi
to
n-am
the
ascuns
commission.
acest
Yes, we did not hide it.
În, de exemplu, în
For
anii
instance,
2020-2021,
The period 2020 to
dacă nu mă
2021,
greșesc, da, în perioada COVID-ului,
during COVID,
iarăși, eu am
Again.
stat la Comrat.
I stayed in Comrat.
Socrii au avut nevoie de grijă.
My parents-in-law needed
Simplă,
care,
chiar și produsele alimentare,
for example, buying
farmacie,
foodstuff,
toate
going to the
cumpărăturile,
pharmacy,
orice,
all shopping,
până la piață,
going to the market.
toate cumpărăturile făcea soția.
All of that was done by my
această
wife
mașină, cu
using
acest
that
vehicul.
car, that vehicle.
Alt vehicul nu era.
There was no
Acel care
other
a fost la
vehicle. The
dispoziția
one
lor,
that was available to them,
Opel era vândut
the
pe
Opel
nu
was
țin minte în ce an.
sold late. I don't remember
Eu n-am aceste
what
date.
in what year.
Și socrul
I
nu
don't have
ține
a date,
minte
and
când a
my
fost vândut.
father-in-law
Dar
doesn't
acel
remember
Renault
either
Scenic,
when he sold it.
el,
But the Renault
în stare
Scenic,
foarte,
it was in
adică el este, adică se stric foarte des.
in a poor
Și
state. It
acum,
breaks
iată,
down very
anul,
often.
vara
And
asta,
this summer,
a venit domnul Buzdugan cu
Mr.
soția lui
Buzdugan with
acasă, au
his
lăsat
wife
procura
came home. They
pentru a
left
vinde
the
această
power of
mașină,
attorney
deoarece ea
to
deja
sell that car
nu poate fi
because
folosită
it
deloc.
cannot be used at all anymore.
Spuneți, vă rog, care a fost
Tell me,
sursa
please,
fondurilor?
what was the
Sau
source of funds?
De unde erau banii cu care a fost
Where-
achiziționat acest automobil?
Where did the money come from to buy the car?
Sprijinul material
From the
acordat
financial
de
support
Buzdugan
provided
Ion
by Buzdugan
și
Ion
posibil,
and possibly,
eu nu cunosc
I
cu
don't
certitudine,
know
adică
for
cum nu
sure.
cunosc.
Well,
Uh,
I don't know.
Eu cred,
I
sau
believe,
eu intuiesc și,
or I
dar nu pot să
presume,
dau
but I
100%
can't
că
state
e
that,
inclusiv din
like
banii
I'm
lui.
sure 100% that
Dar
it was
știu că
only
socrul
his
tot a
money,
avut bani,
because I know that
deoarece
my
socrul,
parents-in-law
când a
had
avut
money
și
too.
gospodăria țărănească, a
Sometime in
avut
the past,
multe
my
terenuri.
father-in-law had
La
a
moment
peasant
deja
farm.
nu
They had a
s-au
lot of
ocupat cu
land plots.
agricultură.
Now they're not into agriculture anymore.
Mijloacele astea bănești erau
These funds,
în posesia domnului Buzdugan
were they
sau în
owned by
posesia
Mr.
socrului?
Buzdugan
În posesia
or my
socrului.
parents-in-law? My parents-in-law.
Și atunci
Then
socrii doar înseamnă că socrii
it
știau
means
că
that the
banii lor
parents-in-law
urmează să fie
knew that
folosiți
their
pentru
money was going to be
achiziționarea
used
acestui automobil.
to purchase that car, obviously.
Înseamnă că nu a fost o surpriză.
It means it wasn't a surprise, obviously.
Și automobilul respectiv a
And
fost
that car
identificat și
was
ales de soția
Found
dumneavoastră.
and selected
Nu
by
de
your
soția
wife?
mea.
No, not by my
Soția
wife.
mea n-a ales
My
automobil.
wife did
Ea,
not
în principiu,
choose
ea
that car.
nu are
As a matter of principle, she does not have experience in this regard.
Ea nici
But
nu este acea persoană care
she's
trebuia.
not
Asta e mai mult
the person who
adică
should have
cumnatul
done it.
meu,
It was by my brother-in-law mostly,
Ion Buzdugan.
Ion Buzdugan.
Dar noi, adică noi am discutat împreună cu
We
dumnealui.
discussed together,
Dar
with him.
am hotărât
and we,
împreună toată familia.
well, our entire family decided together.
Domnul Fujenco, noi l-am audiat
Mr.
pe domnul
Fujenco,
Buzdugan.
we
Da.
Și noastră
heard
ați fost prezenți
Mr.
la
Buzdugan.
acea
You
audiere.
attended that
El a
hearing.
declarat
He
că
declared
automobilul a
that
fost identificat
the
de
vehicle
soția
was
dumneavoastră
found by
și
your
cumpărat împreună
wife
cu
and
soția lui,
purchased
adică cu
together
sora
with
soției dumneavoastră.
his wife, your wife's sister.
Dacă eu țin minte corect, el a
If
spus
I
că
remember
el a avut
correctly, he
Mercedes,
said
a
that
avut
he
nu știu
had a
cine,
Mercedes,
Lexus,
had
n-a avut
something
și
else,
el
he
a
did
avut
not have a
Lexus.
Lexus,
Posibil
and he
eu
wanted
ceva
the
am
Lexus.
făcut.
Maybe
Mă
I'm
scuzați,
mixing
vă rog.
things up, and then
Dar
I'm
precis
sorry for
că
that.
soția mea nu
But
putea să
my wife
identifice
couldn't
mașina.
Haideți atunci să
identify
întoarcem
that car.
înapoi la elementul de surpriză.
Let's go back to the surprise
Ați
part.
spus că acest automobil
You said that
trebuia să fie o
that
surpriză
vehicle
pentru
was
socri.
meant to be a surprise for your
Cum poate fi o
parents-in-law.
surpriză
How
dacă a
can
fost
it be a
cumpărat din
surprise if it
banii
was
care erau în
purchased
posesia
from
lor?
the money that they owned?
Surpriză de punct de vedere că
Surprise
ei
from
niciodată n-au
the
avut
perspective
astfel
that
de
they have
automobil.
never had such a vehicle.
La socru a fost un Renault Scenic din
Father-in-law had a
1996,
Renault Scenic of
anul
1996,
producerii, dacă eu nu mă
if
greșesc.
I'm not mistaken.
Și noi am vrut că să
And we
aibă un
wanted
automobil mai modern,
him to
mai
have a
ușor
more
condus, cu
modern car,
condicionier,
to
adică aer condiționat,
Easier to
cu
drive, with air conditioning,
parktronic,
Parktronic
cutie automată, adică
sensors,
el
automatic
mult mai
gearbox.
comod și ușor
Much
pentru
more
dumnealui.
comfortable and much
Și pentru
easier
soacra
for him,
inclusiv, deoarece
and for the mother-in-law too,
ei
because
ambii au probleme cu tensiunea,
both
cu
of them
inima,
have
și,
issues
de
with their
exemplu,
blood
vara mult mai potrivit.
pressure, heart, and that's much easier to have such a car in summertime.
Din datele acumulate de comisie
From the data that the Commission
înțelegem că
collected,
dumneavoastră
and we
sunteți de
understand
acord
that
cu
you
aceste
agree
constatări,
with those findings,
utilizatorul
the user,
primordial
the
sau
primary
primar
user,
altfel spus, persoana care a
or
condus
the
acest
person who was
automobil
driving that
cel mai
car
mult
most of all
a fost soția
was
dumneavoastră.
your wife.
Și
And
această situație, această
that situation,
posesie efectivă asupra bunului a început
beneficial
imediat când
ownership of
acesta a fost
the
cumpărat,
item
din
started as soon as it was
2017.
purchased, November 2017.
Întrebarea mea ar fi de ce nu a
My
fost
question
declarat
is,
de către
why
dumneavoastră uzul
didn't you
asupra
declare
acestui
the use
automobil
of
începând
that
cu anul
car
2017
starting in
și a fost declarat abia
2017?
pentru
You
anul
declared it
2023?
only in relation to year 2023.
Deoarece noi am considerat că
Because
acest
we
automobil
believe
este utilizat
that the car was
exclusiv
being used
sau foarte
exclusively
predominant
or
în
very
interesele
predominantly
familiei
in the interest
socrilor,
of
nu
the
în
family of a
interesele familiei
parents-in-law,
noastre. Pentru
not
aceasta
for
este
our
familie,
family.
adică mașina
For
familiei
our
noastre.
family, we have
Eu am
our
precizat
car.
în toate explicațiile,
I
toate
clarified
de
in
mine.
all
Se poate
explanations
ușor
that I
de
provided.
verificat.
It's easy
Acest
to check
automobil, de exemplu,
that
niciodată n-a ieșit
vehicle,
din
for
țară.
instance, has never left the country.
Niciodată, nici până la
Never.
Galați, nici
Not
undeva
even to
la
Galați,
mare,
not
sau
to
nu
the
știu unde.
seaside or
El n-a părăsit
elsewhere.
teritoriul
It
pur și
has
Moldova.
never left the territory of
Măcar că
Moldova.
Dacă el era, de exemplu,
Even
apreciat
though
ca automobilul nostru,
it,
nu
if
era nicio
we
problemă
were to
să ieșim cu acest
perceive it as
automobil
our car, it
peste
wouldn't be a
hotărârile
problem for
Republicii
us to
Moldova.
leave,
Noi n-am
to
ascuns faptul
travel
că
across the
automobilul
border
era
using
condus
that.
de soție,
We
deoarece,
did not
într-adevăr,
hide that it was my wife driving it,
asigurarea
because
a fost
indeed
făcută pe
the
numele
insurance
ei
was
și pe numele meu,
in her
pentru
name
orice
and in my
eventualitate.
name,
Deoarece
in-
dacă de mers până la
just in case.
de schimbat roțile
For instance, say you need to
mă ocupam eu.
replace the tires in wintertime. I was handling
care
that
O dată în an.
once a year.
Și erați un posesor de facto.
So
Aveți
you were an
grijă de acest
actual
bun din toate punctele de vedere.
You were taking care
Și
of that
atunci întrebarea era, de
asset
ce
from
nu
all
l-ați
points of view.
declarat?
Then why
Pentru că
didn't you
chiar și în
declare it?
declarația noastră rezultă
Because even
că
from your
îl
statement,
foloseați constant.
it follows that you are constantly using it.
Automobilul a fost,
The car
folosit în
was
interesele
used
familiei Calcea.
for
Iar în
Culture family.
2023,
And in 2023,
socrii
the
au
parents-in-law
transmis acest automobil
transmitted
adică
that
soției mele,
vehicle to their
în
daughter.
folosință.
That's
anume
my
în,
wife. They
scopul
transferred it for
ei,
use,
pentru
for
ea.
her own
avut
purposes.
loc această
How did
transmitere
this
folosită?
transfer
Simplu verbal.
happen? Verbally.
Și după aceasta,
And
noi
after
am
that,
început să declarăm
we
acest
started to
automobil pentru
declare
anul
the
2023
vehicle
și anul
for
2024.
2023 and for 2024.
Spune-mi frumos, în perioada
me,
în care
please,
acest automobil a
when
fost achiziționat,
This car was
dumneavoastră ați fost
purchased.
promovat
You
urmați
were
să începeți
promoted
să
and you were
lucrați
supposed to
la Curtea de
start
Apel
working
Comun.
at Comrat Court of
Exact
Appeal.
corect.
Yes.
Asta ar presupunea că
Did that mean
automobilul
that
care îl avea familia
the
dumneavoastră,
car
ce
your
se întâmplă
family
cu el?
had, what was happening to it?
Adică el rămânea în familia
It
noastră, adică da,
stayed
el
in
era
our
cu
family.
mine, putem spune așa,
It
ca
was
mijloc de
with me, I
transport.
could say, as means of
Soția
transport.
deplasa în Cahul.
What did your wife use in Cahul
Soția
to
mea
travel?
În Cahul se deplasa
In Cahul,
și
my
până
wife
la,
was-
adică transferul meu sau promovarea la
Even
Comrat,
before I was
pe jos
transferred and
sau
promoted
cu
and transferred to Comrat,
transportul,
she was
urban.
walking or she was using public
Ea nu se
transportation.
deplasa cu
She was not
automobilul,
driving
familiei.
our
Foarte rar,
family's car.
extrem de rar.
That was happening
N-a
very
avut
seldom.
nevoie.
Why?
Că
Because
de
she did
la,
not need
casa noastră
it.
sau
From
apartamentul
our
nostru până
apartment
la lucru,
to her
500 de
workplace,
metri
it was
pentru lucru ei,
500 meters
adică până la lucru ei.
to her workplace.
Dar fiecare săptămână eu
And
veneam
every
acasă.
week I was coming home,
Și dacă ceva
and
serios, nu
if
știu, careva
there was
cumpărături
something
serioase,
serious, like
până la magazin
some serious
sau nu știu ce,
shopping,
noi
or
puteam să facem
we
împreună.
were doing it together over the weekend.
Mulțumesc.
Thank you.
Dacă mai sunt întrebări la colegi. în
Colleagues, do you have any
anii
more
care au fost
questions
discutate
about the
până
years that have been discussed so far
înainte de a trece la ultimul
before we move to the last two issues?
Yes, I have 3 follow-up questions. First of all, CEP. You explained that you went to Romania and you bought different kind of stuff from Romania. What about transportation expenses? in this period. That means that transportation expenses should be higher. Is it correct?
I would like to mention once more that, for instance, in Cahul, the market was very weak. People from Cahul were shopping either in Chișinău or in Galați. It was 180 kilometers to Chișinău and only 60-something kilometers to Galați. So travel expenses are smaller if you travel to Galați than traveling to Chișinău. Besides that, the car that belongs to our family, the Renault Megane, has a consumption of something over 4 liters per 100 kilometers. It's very much saving. So the expenses are not large. To Galați and back, that would be around 10 liters of gasoline.
Okay,
That is
you want to
18
say that no higher expenses for transportation in this period. This is your answer. Yes, clear. Please,
There were.
could you please just say yes or no?
You can't always give a yes or no answer. There were expenses, but compared to the savings that we made, they were rational.
Okay. My next follow-up question. If we talk about 2015, and sorry I asked this question also last time, how you can explain that some donation from your parents you declared and some you didn't? What was the criteria when you declared them and when you didn't?
There was no criterion. I said, I paid attention to that fact. Once more, our entire life is a lesson, and along my life, I keep developing. I think we all develop along the course of our lives. And as a simple person, not as a lawyer, not as a judge, but as a person, I did not realize. I just haven't paid attention to those gifts. As in many families, some gifts were provided. For instance, my wife received a gift from her parents. She received it and, okay, the question is done. I did not think about it. I'm not saying that's good, that's normal. It just happened like that, and I admit it. And later on, when the amounts were bigger, the criterion wasn't small amount, big amount. Even small amounts should have been declared. But it was only then that, this light bulb with an idea went up. That it had to be declared, and I started to declare, and I have been declaring everything now. Thank you, that was a lesson.
Thank you, and my last question, and you are judge, you can ask very shortly. Who was real beneficiary of a Lexus between 2017 to 2022?
It's only a perception that naturally my wife became a beneficial owner. She drove that car for the interests of Culture family, and the beneficial owner was Culture family. As in a company, for instance, a driver that is driving the car is not the beneficial owner. The company is the owner. Maybe it's not a very suitable comparison, but it shows what I want to say.
My question wasn't clear enough. My question is, who, in your opinion, was real beneficiary of a Lexus between 2017 and 2022?
Culture family.
Thank you.
Mr. Fujenco, you mentioned about this exercise of choosing the vehicle to be used further for different transportation needs of your parents-in-law. And you say that in this exercise, your brother-in-law participated. Also, you have mentioned that that person had also other cars in possession. Can you tell us exactly what other cars did he possess? He had the Mercedes, he had a Hyundai. Now he has a Mercedes which is more than 40,000 pounds. Also, he had a Volkswagen Passat. He had it many years ago when that car was in fashion. I don't actually remember all of the cars that he changed during the years. Now he lives in Great Britain for some years, so I know what he is driving now. His son has a BMW, also has a motorcycle, so the oldest son. He has a great house, 2 floors, a big house in London. Okay, we are very glad for his success, but my question was more about the exact model of the car, models actually of the cars that he possessed. I was interested not only on the actual type of car, but also model of those that he used in Moldova. Okay, when he was in Moldova, he had Volkswagen Passat. And before that, I don't remember, because he actually left in 2011 to work abroad. And further, I don't know what he had before that car, because when I met him, he was driving a Volkswagen Passat. Okay, I got it. So, judging by the model, and I wanted to say that he also had a Hyundai minibus. Okay, judging on the models of the cars that you mentioned, he probably was aware of the usage of those cars in different areas of the country. I mean, he lives in Moldova. He knows the quality of the roads, at least in those times. And the question is, why would he choose such a car for such roads? And then, although that car was bought, was not a very convenient car for the parents-in-law, and they didn't really use it. And you mentioned this actually in your report. And why another car was not chosen, like a RAV4, let's say, that is higher and better for these kind of roads in terms of transportation and usage of the car? We are speaking about the village Kotihana, which is just 4 kilometers from Cahul city. And those roads are excellent. I actually invite you to check yourself. And there is no problem with low cars. I mean, I need to mention that it was not absolutely related to the quality of roads. My father-in-law had a psychological barrier about the automatic gear. But he needed the vehicle with a big storage area, because for him that was the priority for the car. to be able to carry big boxes or big bags with products. And he didn't like the automatic gear car. We actually chose this because we thought it's going to be easier for him, but he just didn't accept such a car. Okay, thank you for this clarification. I have just one last question to understand what you said previously. So, the relations that your brother-in-law had with your father-in-law were quite quite tight, so they were very close, yes? So, having this information, by the end of the day, the question is why the final decision was to take an automatic gear car, knowing that he would probably not drive such a car. And also thinking about the performance of different models of the car, why the decision was not about a car that would definitely be appropriate for that purpose that you just described, like a pickup. Or another model that would offer advantages to the needs of your father-in-law. And here I would like to remind you an important aspect. The decision about this car, from your own words, were mainly related to transportation needs in the context of his health problems. And then you say that he needed a good car for agricultural products with a big storage area. We actually, the fact that he didn't accept this car, we found out only after the purchase of the car. Initially, he didn't say anything about automatic gear. Against automatic gear. The second thing is that talking about the good relationships between my brother-in-law and his father and our family also, I want to declare with full responsibility to the whole Commission, and I said this before, in 2003, my wife and Kalcha family have donated to the family Buzdugan a flat. And in that case, the family Buzdugan, this is the family of my brother-in-law, they became owners of a flat immediately after the wedding. And this was done just because it was a donation, because we are very close. We have close family ties. Respectively, my brother-in-law had the same reaction. And speaking about coming back to the vehicle, we thought that taking into account the diagnosis of my father-in-law, I'm not going to say it again in front of the Commission, we thought that he's not going to be able to use another car, another type of car. We thought that he is going to settle down after his diagnosis. Like, we thought that he's going to use the car just to go to the shop or to, take a short drive to... He has some land. He can actually lease some land. He has resources to survive. He doesn't need to actually work now. But he... being a very active person all his life, he didn't want to actually stop his agricultural activities or other activities. And from the household
Da, a rămas acolo livadă și
Yes, he
terenurile, eu nu știu, aproape toate sunt
sold
deja vândute.
all the fields. He left only one orchard that he was actually using I mean, he was picking the fruits. It was for the family. And it was unexpected for us to see his reaction. We couldn't prognose such a reaction from our father-in-law. Our intention was to make his life easier. But his reaction was actually the opposite. He didn't want that.
Îți pare o investiție destul de nereușită, îmi pare
It
rău
looks
să
like a
constat
very
în situația în care
bad investment. Sorry to say
erați
that.
dumneavoastră
Mainly in the situation in which you were at that time. I mean, financially
și
speaking.
luând în calcul, de fapt,
And taking
banii,
into account that
care dumneavoastră spuneți
the
că au fost
money that
folosiți pentru
was used for
acest
this
automobil,
car
de fapt, erau
was
de la
scarce and was
niște părinții socri.
from your parents-in-law, actually.
Pare rău să o constat, dar
So
nu a
I'm
fost
sorry
un
to
bun
say, but I
consiliere
think it
legată
was
de
not
această
at
achiziție.
all a good decision, that purchase.
Nu, asta a fost o concluzie.
This was just my conclusion.
Da, spate o întrebare care rezultă din declarațiile
Just a question that comes from your previous declaration. You said that when Mr. Buzdugan married your sister-in-law, your wife donated a part of the flat. Yes, 1/4. And the mother-in-law 1/4, and then the grandmother 1/4. And the last part was actually her part because she was member of a family. So it was like they became the owners of the flat because 3 of the parts of the flat were donated from family members. Okay, and the car that was purchased in 2017 by Mr. Buzdugan was kind of a reward for the people that have donated the flat?
Eu nu văd aici legătură
I
directă.
don't see any
Poate
direct
careva
connection, maybe a
Asta puteți să
moral
întrebați pe
connection,
domnul
but this
Buzdugan.
is a question
În
you
orice
should
caz, noi
ask
n-am
Mr.
avut discuții
Buzdugan.
în acest
We
sens.
didn't have
Nu
such
există nicio
discussions,
datorie și mai
and there is
existat
no
a domnului Buzdugan
debt
față de familia noastră
of
în
Mr.
legătură cu
Buzdugan
donații care
towards
au
our
făcut
family
în 2003.
related to
Până
this
la,
donation in 2003
procurarea acestui
and
automobil.
before the purchase of the car. I mean, it was just moral thing. Okay, colleagues, do you have any other questions? Okay, Mr. Fujenco, can you shortly explain what was the purchase procedure? Who physically participated and who gave the money to the
Am fost eu
to the
și
seller?
soacra.
I was there with my mother-in-law.
Am cumpărat soacra.
My mother-in-law was the person purchasing, but I was the one driving it.
Banii cine a transmis?
Who sent the money? My mother-in-law.
În primii ani de achiziție,
Okay, in the first year of the usage of this car, who dealt with the car? Who covered the cost of the car? Me and my wife. Only one time my mother-in-law bought the insurance. Thank you.
haideți să discutăm despre
Okay, let's discuss about the flat that you bought on Dubinin Street in Comrat. So you actually, taking into account the report, it is said that in 2021 you bought this
Acest apartament apare cu titlul de uzufruct și în declarația de avere și interes personale.
So it's about that it is also in the declaration of wealth and personal interest for 2021.
Totuși, în prima rundă de întrebări,
sorry, you offered this flat
ați locuit în acest apartament încă din noiembrie
usage, and you
2018.
wrote afterwards that you lived there from November 2018.
Care este motivul
What is the
pentru care
reason
ați omis să declarați acest
you
uzufruct
didn't declare
în declarațiile noastre de avere și
the
interese
usage
personale
of this
pentru anii
flat
2018,
for the years
2019 și
2018, 2019 and 2020?
Eu odată deja menționat, nu este vorba
I
de
have
uzufruct,
mentioned
este
it's not
vorba
about
de,
usufruct. It's about, I forgot,
eu pe urmă să aduc aminte și
lease?
spun mai este
No,
vorba de-
it's not about that.
Da, de habitație.
Yes,
Da,
it's
scuzați.
habitation. Habitation. Yes, it's
Eu
habitation.
vreau încă o dată să menționez că
I
în
want to
primul rând
mention
această
once
informație a
again,
fost obținută de
this
comisie,
information was obtained by the Commission from me.
adică eu n-am ascuns
I
nimic
didn't
și
hide
am
this
spus
fact,
lucrurile așa cum ele
and
au
I just
fost.
said as it
În al doilea
was.
rând, când
Second of all,
eu am spus și
When I
confirm acest
said,
fapt,
and I confirmed this,
când a fost adoptată legea
that
intrată
when
în
the
vigoare
law
din,
entered into
2016, dacă
force
nu
in
greșesc,
2016, if I'm not
care,
mistaken,
adică
about
conduce aceste raporturi juridice, eu n-am
the
avut,
legal reports,
așa,
I
relații
did
cu
not
privire
have
la habitație sau cu privire
such
la,
relations with this
locațiune. Și, prin urmare, am
real
citit
estate.
legea și
I read the law,
putem să spunem că am uitat.
and yes, we can say I forgot
Și
about
când
that.
la mine a apărut această,
And when,
acest loc de habitație,
This
mă gândeam ca simplu exemplu,
habitat
când vin, de exemplu, la
situation
Chișinău,
started, I was
stau la un
thinking that
prieten
when
de-al
I
meu
come to
noapte,
Chișinău and I need to spend overnight at a friend,
acest loc
I don't actually have to declare that space for spending a night there. And I thought to myself that it's the same situation because I was not living there. I was using that space maybe 2 days a week and not every week. But when I understood that that was a mistake from my side not to report that, I started to declare it. I started to declare that place as a habitat place, as an place where I lived.
În perioada respectivă,
Okay, in that
dumneavoastră
period of
aplicați
time,
cadrul Curții de Apel
you
Comrat.
were working at the Court of
Asta
Appeal
presupune
in Comrat.
un serviciu
This
de luni până
means
vineri, de la 8
working
la 5.
from Monday to Friday from 8 till 5.
Înțelegem că apartamentul
And we
ăsta, în
understand
perioada 2018-2020,
that this
a
flat
fost
between
locul dumneavoastră permanent de trai
2018 and
sau locuință de
2020
serviciu.
was your at least working flat.
Eu veneam luni,
I was coming on Monday.
nu întotdeauna stăteam
I
la
would
Comrat,
not
veneam
always
și
live in
acasă.
Comrat. I would also
Câteodată
go
vineri,
home.
dacă noi nu
And
aveam
oftentimes
ședințe,
on
eu
Friday,
luam lucru, nu dosare,
if
dar
we would
lucru
not
prin
have
poșta electronică și făceam lucru
the work in the
acasă.
office, I would take all the files and do the work at home.
Cum asta avea loc?
How was that happening, working at
Adică
home?
pentru a verifica deciziile,
Just to verify the
pentru
decisions,
redactare.
in
N-ai
order to,
nevoie de
because in
dosare,
order
dacă
to
ele deja sunt,
edit the decisions, you don't
aproape
need all
făcute,
the files if
doar
they are
trebuie
on the last
verificat
page.
și
I need
de
only to
făcut.
verify.
Adică cum
And it's possible.
redactarea finală,
Da,
greșeli prea
So
mari.
it was like the final decisions, yes, just to, to edit the final decisions to prepare them by Monday.
Și lipsa asta de la
Okay,
sediul instanței.
and this lack,
Era autorizată
I mean,
de
the fact that
președintele
you
instanței sau-
were not physically present in the court, it was not a problem. I talked about this with the members of the council, but this was not happening all the time.
Dacă asta era rar,
Okay,
înseamnă că
so
întoarcem
if
înapoi la
this did not happen
faptul că,
all
de
the
fapt,
time,
locuința din
by the end of the
strada
day,
Dubina era
it
locuința
means
noastră
that
preponderentă.
the real estate from Dubinian State, the Dubinian Street was actually your flat where you lived every week. I was living there only temporarily. I was more often going home. And I was also spending nights in Chișinău because I had to solve some issues also
Dar
in
cea mai mare
Chișinău.
parte.
Okay, most of the time. Okay, 3 days a week I would live in Comrat.
Deci înțelegem că exemplul
Okay,
dumneavoastră
so
cu
it means
statul
that,
pe o noapte la niște prieteni nu prea este aproape
in
de
that
real-
case,
de ceea
you
ce-
cannot
modul în care
compare
folosiți
this
dumneavoastră această
with what
locuință.
you said previously, just a night spent over a friend in Chișinău.
totodată eu aproape fiecare săptămână
Nevertheless,
rămâneam o noapte
almost
și la prieteni
every
din Chișinău.
week I was spending at least one night at my friends in Chișinău.
Care erau cheltuielile dumneavoastră
Okay,
lunare
what
care
were
le-ați
your
suportat în
monthly
legătură cu
expenses
întreținerea acestor
related
locuințe?
to maintenance of that real estate, that flat? Only the services that I had to pay there, like electricity, gas.
În bani, pe lună.
Okay, can you tell us in money per month? It's very difficult to appreciate because the prices are not constant. In 2018, it was a different price for the electricity, for natural gas. It was much cheaper than today. But I was constantly paying them, and these figures are reflected. I was constantly paying it through the bank, and it's very easy to verify that because I was using those accounts that were presented to the Vetting Commission.
Explicați, vă rog, circumstanțele în care acest
Can you
apartament
explain
a
the
fost transmis în
circumstances
folosință gratuită?
how this flat was given to you in free usage, for free usage?
Cred că undeva în luna noiembrie.
Okay, I think it was in November. I don't remember the exact day. It was a long time ago. I mean, 7 years ago.
În timpul, adică la amiază,
So
am ieșit
I went for my lunch break,
pentru a lua masă și
and
piața centrală se află chiar
the central market is right next to the appeal court of appeal.
Noi luam
And I was actually having my lunch with my colleagues. It was a canteen where we were usually eating. And I met there this lady, Madam Valentina Rybash. I'm not sure that I can share her personal data. Anyways, I met the woman who was the mother of the owner of the flat. Actually, she was also the owner. I know her for many years. She was always selling fish at the central market in Comrat. Now she's not anymore with us, she died. I was always buying fish from her many years in a row because she always had good fresh fish. The price was very convenient and the quality was always good. And always, when I was going through that area, even going to Chișinău, I would stop by and I would buy some fish. I would even call her to tell her that I'm coming to buy some fish. Also, when I was returning from Chișinău, we were not friends, we were just acquaintances. And I told her that I'm gonna meet her much more often because I was appointed to serve here. And she asked me, where do you live? And I told her, for 2 months I've been looking for a flat here, and I cannot find a place. And I want to mention that at that time in Comrat it was very difficult to identify a place to rent. I mean, people were just sticking notes on the, light pillars to, search for someone to rent a flat. No company was dealing with real estate, with renting in that area. Yes, a lot of real estates were dealing with sales of flats, but not rent. Respectively, she told me, listen, I have a flat. And if you don't have a flat, I can offer this to you. And I asked her, okay, how much would it be for me? And she said, you just need to pay for the bills. And I said, no, it doesn't work like that. You have to tell me a price. I'm interested. I want to take it. And her answer was,
această intenție, de mult
I never had the intention to rent this flat to anyone.
Ea căutat pe cineva,
I just want a trustworthy person, a kind person, a person
care o să aibă grijă de acest apartament.
I can trust to take care of this flat because I'm not using it and I need them to pay the bills during the winter. It's high bills. And she said to me that she was very lucky to start this discussion with me. And of course I agreed, because for 2 months I couldn't find a place to stay. I was looking for it for 2 months. And I want to mention that I found out from the commission that this flat was bought in February 2018. I was not aware of this. And before me entering that flat, nobody lived in that flat. So the owner, and I'm speaking now about the daughter of this older lady, she lived with her mother in a different flat. That flat was not used.
Cunoașteți din ce mijloace a fost
Do
achiziționat
you
acest
know
apartament?
from what money that flat was bought? After the questions were formulated by the commission, I of course went and discussed with the lady, and she told me that she was gathering money for many years since she was started to sell fish. And that was their main income, the income of their family.
Care e explicația dumneavoastră?
What is your explanation?
Care era motivația?
What would be the motive of the owner to give a freshly bought apartment, to give it for free to someone when you said yourself that it was a huge request, and people, you looked for it for 2 months, and they could, in those circumstances, they could find very easily someone to rent it for. Listen, for 9 months, they didn't take anyone for the rent, and I have the same question, and I told you I wanted to give her money. She just said no. Maybe she didn't want because she was just really trying to find someone to take care of that flat, because we know that so many people that rent, they make a mess out of the flat. Unfortunately, this happens, but now the lady is dead. Unfortunately, we cannot ask her anymore. Okay, if colleagues have any questions for the real estate. Mr. Fujenco, you mentioned that you had these expenses for utilities. Do you think these expenses influenced a lot your consumption amount? Of course, obviously, and I never hide that. I mean, I never hide that. It's reflected. Everything is reflected. I made all those payments through the bank. You can check all of them. Okay, can you tell me how can a legal expert quantify those additional expenses? My banking accounts are given to the legal expert. Everything that the commission has, the expert has. Okay, so you have the bills for all the months. Yes, because I paid everything through the bank. Only through the bank. Okay, thank you. Okay, a last thing, just to clarify something.
cheltuieli pe care dumneavoastră le-ați avut în
some
anul
expenses that you
2021
had in
în
2021
legătură cu
in connection
achiziția și
with
reparația
the
casei
purchase
din Cahul,
and
de
repairs
pe
of
strada
a
Dragoș
house in
Vodă.
Cahul on Dragoș Vodă Street.
Deci, dumneavoastră ați încheiat un contract pe 4
You
noiembrie
concluded a contract on
2021, ați
November
încheiat un
4th,
contract
2021
de achiziție a
to
unui lot de
purchase
teren și a
a
unei
land
construcții
plot
nefinisate.
and an unfinished building.
Ați înregistrat dreptul de proprietate
You
abia
registered
la
ownership
13
right
decembrie
only on
2021.
December 13,
În același
2021.
timp,
At the
în
same
declarația
time,
noastră pe
in your
avere și interese
Declaration
în
of
anul
Assets and
2021,
Personal Interests for
ați declarat o
2021,
serie de
you declared a number of
cheltuieli,
expenses,
de cheltuieli pe care legate de, aparent de casă.
somehow related, house-related, we see,
Cu fabricarea și instalarea
such
mobilierului,
as manufacturing,
lucrări de construcții,
installing
fabricarea și
furniture,
instalarea
construction work,
ferestrelor, gard.
manufacturing
Și dacă observați la data
windows,
pe care ați
making a
declarat-o
fence.
dumneavoastră,
And if you look at the
dumneavoastră
date
ați
that you
procurat
declared,
aceste
you
bunuri și
purchased
servicii
those goods and
înainte
services
să
before
încheiați contractul de
you
vânzare-cumpărare.
concluded the sale and purchase contract.
Cum explicați această anticipare?
How do you explain this anticipation?
Deci, în primul rând, eu cunosc foarte
First
bine
of all,
pe fostul proprietar
I know very well the former owner
imobil,
of that real
construcții
estate,
nefinisate.
unfinished construction.
La dumnealui ceva nu a fost în regulă. Activ,
Something
eu nu
was
țin
wrong
minte
with
deja
his
care era
documents. I
situația
don't remember
și
exactly
așteptam
what the
când
situation
vor fi
was.
aduse
We were waiting
în regulă.
for
Dar,
him to
am început
make it right, but
să fac toate
I
lucrările
started
după ce a
all
fost
the works
înregistrarea
after
temporară sau
we
prealabilă
had the
la
preliminary registration with
cadastru.
cadastre.
Așa, două întrebări aici.
Two questions here.
Cunoșteați proprietarul? În ce
So
relație
you
erați?
knew the owner. What was your relationship with him? Friends, relatives?
Suntem cunoscuți.
No, just acquaintances.
De unde? Sunteți
Where
cunoscuți?
from?
Trăim într-un oraș.
We're living
Mi se
in the
pare
same
că
city.
cândva-
I think
Nu, el n-a
sometime in the
fost la
back,
mine la
no,
practică, dar știu că
he
el pur și
wasn't
simplu
my
era
trainee,
student
but I know he was a student
la facultatea de drept
at the
și a
Faculty
făcut
of
practică la
Law,
procurator, dar nu la
and
mine.
he had
Eu știu
his
din
internship at the
timpurile
prosecutor's office,
Și
so I
în
knew
momentul în
him
care
since then.
ați,
So, at the moment when
cumpărați
you
acest lot.
decided to purchase that land plot,
de cât timp nu l-ați întâlnit? Adică
How
înțeleg că era l-ați cunoscut la acel
long
moment când a fost
didn't you
stagiar
see
sau
that?
practicant
So
la
I understand that
procuratură.
you got to know
după
him
asta?
when he was an intern at the prosecutor's office, but when did you
Cred că mai
meet him
mult de
before?
20 de ani.
I think it was more than
Adică nu
20
este
years.
legată cunoștința noastră
So
cu acest
our
lot.
acquaintance is
Simplu,
not
domnul
related to that
vindea
land plot.
această casă,
This
ea a stat
gentleman was
undeva
selling
pe
that
site-uri
house. It was
mai mult
published
de 2
somewhere on the
ani
website for more than 2
și
years.
nimeni nu procura.
No
adică
one was
fără-
purchasing it.
Da.
Ați menționat
You mentioned
o înregistrare prealabilă. La
a
ce vă referiți?
preliminary
Înregistrare
registration.
prealabilă
What do you
la
mean?
ce?
Preliminary registration of what?
Construcție.
Of the construction.
Când el a înregistrat
When
construcția,
he registered the construction
că actele
and I
sunt în
saw
regulă,
that the documents are
atunci
all
eu am
right,
început
that's when
să fac
I
comandă.
started to
Pentru a
place
face
orders
comandă la mobilierul
to,
sau la
to
ferestre.
order furniture or windows.
Nu este obligatoriu, deja noi
V-ați
It's
asumat un
not
risc.
mandatory, but you took a risk
Pentru că
La
nu aveți
noi
niciun
because
temei
you
să
had
pretindeți la
no
acel- n-ați încheiat un alt
reason to
contract.
claim. You didn't
la
have
noi mi se
a
pare că
preliminary
dacă nu mă
contract.
greșesc, eu nu vreau
I just don't want to
spun ceva incorect,
say
dar
something
dacă
that
eu
would
nu
be
mă
wrong,
greșesc.
but if I'm not mistaken,
greșesc.
if I'm not
La
mistaken,
noi sau a fost contract de
we
arvună,
had some
sau
sort of
pur și
advance
simplu noi am
payment
vorbit. Eu nu
agreement,
țin minte,
or we
acum nu
just
pot să vă
talked.
ofer
I don't remember it
informații,
now.
eu nu
I
țin minte
can't
dacă în
give you
dubii
that
care
information.
urmează să fie discutate a
I
fost
don't
această
remember if
întrebare
this
ridicată.
was raised in the
Că
doubts to be
nu prea
discussed.
sunt pregătit.
Because I'm not quite prepared for it. These are clarification questions about 2021, about your expenses. In the doubt, you said that in the public hearings we will discuss only these questions, and I was not prepared for the specific question. Well, but it follows from the general issue of inexplicable wealth.
De acolo decurge,
This
decurg
is
aceste
where
întrebări.
it follows from.
Și aceste dumneavoastră ați oferit, asta e informația care ați
That's
oferit
information that you provided to us. Yes, I did.
Evident, pur și simplu acolo
Yes,
este
it's just
oarecare explicație.
there was an
Eu deja nu
explanation
mi-ați
there.
aminte,
I
pur și
just
simplu.
don't remember it
Asta
very
trebuie
well
de
now.
verificat actele
This
și
has
de
to be checked.
dispus chiar
Documents have to be
întrebat pe
checked.
domnul
I
lui, eu pur și
actually had
simplu
to
nu
ask
prea
him.
țin
I really don't remember how things were.
Asta era pur și simplu o ofertă
But
care
that
a
wasn't-
avut caracter public, a fost
So
chiar
that was
afișată undeva în
public,
internet.
it was
Și
for sale, published on the
noi,
internet,
am găsit asta
and
prin
we
agenții
found it
imobiliare, dacă
through
nu mă
real
greșesc.
estate
Eu nu sunt
agents.
aminte deja.
But I don't remember exactly.
toate lucrările
All the works,
și de construcții, de modelare,
construction
de
works,
fost efectuate în
furbishing works,
2021
were they all done in 2021? Yes.
și după asta nu ați avut niciun fel
And
de
then after
cheltuieli.
that, you had no other expenses related to it? No.
Acum, deci, să înțeleg așa la modul
just want to understand.
În 2021
In
casa
practice.
era gata pentru
In
ca să
2021,
mutați?
was the house ready for you to move
Noi am
in?
intrat în casă pe
We
31
moved into the
decembrie
house on December
2021.
31st, 2021.
Dar cum explicați că a
How
fost
do you
dat în
explain
exploatare
that
de
it
în
was put
2023?
into
Care a fost impedimentul?
operation only in 2023? Why didn't it happen earlier? I think it was something about the measurements, location of a house on the land plot. I believe it was something related to that. Again, it was related to the documents provided by the former owner. When the documentation was completed,
Ca să înțeleg,
That's
era
when-
un impediment de ordin formal.
so it was a formality, a documentary issue. Yes, the house was done entirely. We didn't do anything in the house. No.
Am înțeles. Eu nu mai am întrebări,
I
colegi.
have no other questions, colleagues. I have pictures since 2020. I can find pictures from January 2022, and I can provide it to the Commission with date and location, everything. It will be clear that the house was entirely ready. Thank you. Colleagues,
Întrebări?
any questions?
Am o întrebare legată de...
I have a question,
Ați menționat la general că
because you generally mentioned that
persoana
the
cu care ați
person
semnat un
with
contract
whom
de
you
vânzare-cumpărare,
signed that sale and purchase
avea ceva
agreement
probleme cu
had
actele.
some issues with his
Puteți să ne
documents.
spuneți mai exact
Could you
despre ce
tell
era
us a
vorba?
bit more about that?
Adică nu că probleme, nu
Well,
m-am
maybe not
exprimat corect. Când a fost
Issues, that's not
înregistrată
the right way to put it.
construcția,
When the construction
adică
was
orice
registered,
construcție urmează să fie
you know,
înregistrată.
every construction
Când eu am
needs to
fost
be
convins că
registered.
construcția
When
este
I was
înregistrată,
convinced that it
când
is
el a venit
registered,
la
when
mine
he
cu acte,
came to me
adică
with
i-a
the
spus,
documents,
"Bine,
I
eu
said,
cumpăr
okay,
acest,
I am buying this
această construcție nefinisată, dar vreau
unfinished
să văd
construction from
înregistrarea."
you, but I
Și când
want
el
to
la
see
mine
that
a
it
venit
is
cu acte,
registered. So when he
atunci
provided the
s-a
document,
pornit,
that's when we started
deja,
the
adică s-au pornit lucrările.
works.
Comenzile, lucrările.
I mean,
etc.
placing orders for
Deci
works.
să înțeleg că în
Should
înregistrarea
I
s-a
understand
petrecut cu
that the
privire la
registration, it was a registration of
și la
a
construcția
land plot
nefinalizată
and unfinished
într-o careva
construction
proporție.
to, well, it was unfinished to some extent.
Ce aveți în vedere care
What do you mean to
Nu
some extent?
proporția
I mean,
sau procentul de
percentage, let's say,
Era-
percentage,
eu nu țin
yes.
minte
I don't
procentajul.
remember the
Era
percentage
oarecare
precisely,
procentaj.
but there was some
Nu țin
percentage.
minte care.
I don't
Dar
remember
la
what it
cadastru
was,
sunt aceste
but
date
the
precise.
cadastre has such data. This can be checked.
Bun, în cadrul
Okay.
informațiilor pe care Comisia
Part of the
le-a
information
obținut,
that the Commission obtained,
s-a constatat
It
că
was found
a existat de fapt
that
un proces contravențional
there
legat
was
de
a
această construcție.
contravention
Și este
proceeding
și
related to that
o constatare
construction, and there
La
was
judecătorie Cahul, că
finding
de fapt
report
e
with
vorba de
Cahul
o
Court that
construcție
the construction was
care nu respectă cerințele
non-compliant
Autorizații de
with the
construcție care au fost,
requirements of the construction
emise de-
authorization that was issued by the City Hall.
Întrebarea mea este
My question is,
în contextul în care dumneavoastră vorbiți despre o
in the
construcție
context since you are talking about
nefinalizată,
an unfinished construction,
ce pași au urmat
what
din partea dumneavoastră
steps
mai
did
departe?
you make afterwards?
Eu n-am făcut niciun pas.
I
Domnul a
didn't
venit la
make
mine
any
cu
step.
acte
He came with the documents to me,
Și atunci noi am început
and
deja
that's when we
lucrări.
started the works.
Eu am spus pur și simplu domnului că
I
vine la
just
mine
told
cu
him
actele și
that
atunci
you
noi
come
vom
to with the
discuta
documents
mai
to me,
departe.
and that's when we can continue our discussion.
Asta e tot.
That's all.
Dumnealui are studii juridice
He
ca
has
atare și se ocupă cu
Degree in
construcții.
law,
Cred că el
and
este
he's dealing with
abilitat în
constructions. I
sensul
think
dat și
he
dacă
is
el ceva a omis, cred că știe cum de
skilled in
reparat.
this.
Ideea
And
n-am
if
ce
he
el a
missed
făcut.
something, he knew how to repair that. I have no idea what he did exactly.
Dumneavoastră nu v-ați ocupat deloc de
You
acte
did
în
not
sens
handle
de
at all the
autorizații de
documents, meaning the
construire sau alte
construction
aspecte.
authorization or any
Când el a
other
fost
things.
proprietarul casei, asta
When
el
he
s-a ocupat
was
cu
the
asta.
owner, he was the one dealing with those things.
Am înțeles, dar
I
întrebarea mea
understand it,
este
but
în
my
contextul
question
ulterior,
is in
după ce ați preluat
the
această
context of
construcție
the
nefinalizată
time
și
after that. You took it over, unfinished
După asta,
construction and the
deja,
land plot.
eu m-am
After that,
ocupat cu actul de
I
primire
was dealing
predare
with the
a construcției.
handover document.
Eu, dacă sincer, deja nu țin minte, la mine sunt toate actele
Honestly,
de casă
I don't
dată
remember. I have
și
all of
trebuie
the
să fie
documents
ridicate
related to that
și
house. I just
dacă
need to look
comisia are
into that.
nevoie,
And if the
eu
commission
pot să le
needs,
prezint.
I could
Bun,
provide them.
mulțumesc. Eu nu mai am.
Thank you. I have no other questions.
Nimeni n-a solicitat acestea.
No one has asked those documents before. Mr. Fujenco, could you please describe that real estate? According to the documents, I noticed that it is a detached house with an area of 93 square meters, but in your declaration of assets, you reported as somehow around 200 square meters.
3 metri,
23? No, 93.
cum nu poate fi așa.
No, it can't be. That's the area of the house. That's the documents from the file.
Casă cu două nivele.
First of all, it's a
În al
two-story
doilea rând,
house.
acolo, inițial,
Secondly,
când
initially,
a fost înregistrarea
when
inițială,
the initial
garajul a
registration
fost,
took place,
înregistrat
the
împreună
garage
cu
was
casa, dar pe
registered
urmă,
together
când,
with the house,
s-a finisat
but then
deja
when
tot,
everything
a
was
fost,
finished,
adică despărțite, garajul a
it
fost
was
aparte
separated. The
înregistrat și
garage
casa
was
aparte.
registered
Eu am
separately
reșit
from the
din
house.
datele din
And
cadastru,
based,
din datele
I only
cadastrale.
rely on cadastral data.
Cunoașteți careva
Do
informații că
you
această
know
construcție inițială a
any
fost
information
neautorizată?
about this construction being unauthorized
Eu
initially?
știu că din start
I
această
know
construcție
that from the
adică
beginning,
a fost arătată fără acte.
this construction did not have
Construită și
appropriate
ulterior
documents.
s-a
So it
început
was
legalizarea.
first built and then they started to make it
Am
legal?
spus că am nevoie de acte.
I said that I needed
Și
documents.
după asta
And
stăpânul
after that,
nu a făcut legătură cu
the
mine
owner
un timp oarecare.
did not get in
După
touch
ce a
with
venit
me
cu
for
acte
some
și a
time.
spus că
Only
la dânsul tot în
after some
regulă.
time, he came with the
este la
documents and said that
cadastru
everything was
înregistrarea
settled, that there was a registration with the cadastre.
eu nu sunt
Was it a
cum corect
temporary
spune.
registration? I don't remember the right name for it.
Adică casa este înregistrată la
Saying,
cadastru.
well, in other words, it meant that the house was registered with the cadastre as an unfinished construction.
Careva modificări la construcție
In the
au
meanwhile,
fost
did you make did the former owner make any changes to the construction in the meanwhile?
Eu nu sunt minte.
I don't remember, honestly.
Și dumneavoastră ați luat
And
la
you
un grad de finisare de 46%.
took
care
it over as a
reprezenta
completion
pereții
degree of
ridicați și
46%,
acoperișul,
which means walls were up
Acoperișul
and the
dumneavoastră
roof.
nu l-ați,
So you
schimbat.
didn't replace the roof, the roof stayed the
Așa,
same. Yes, it stayed the same.
Și toate aceste
And
investiții au fost
all
făcute
these
de
investments
dumneavoastră parcursul
were
anul 2021.
done by you in
Contractul de vânzare-cumpărare
2021.
a
The
fost
sale
în
and
noiembrie.
purchase contract is dated November 2021. Most of the investment was between November and end of December. No, as I said,
Adică eu n-am avut dubii în privința la
I
persoana
didn't
dată.
have doubts about
Și
that
s-au
person.
pornit lucrările,
And
adică
works
investițiile de mai înainte.
Started before, the investment started before, meaning that you had
el
access
a
to that
dat
property.
acces la acest bun.
Yes, he granted access to the property.
El a spus că are
He
autorizație,
said
a spus
he
că
has
are
the
tot.
authorization, he
Poate
had
de
everything,
făcut
and works can be
Pentru
performed.
recepția finală,
And for the
dumneavoastră ați
final
comandat,
acceptance
cred că, o
document,
companie
you
tehnică
probably
pentru a măsura
contracted a
construcțiile
technical company to do the final
finale.
measurements.
Și aceasta a durat 2 ani?
Did it take 2 years to do that?
Mi se pare că totuși acolo a fost
I
ceva cu
believe
amplasarea,
there was something related to the
clădirii pe teren.
location of the construction on the land
sau eu nu
plot.
sunt minte
I
dacă
don't
este sincer.
remember.
Și ați făcut ceva modificări? Ați făcut?
Nu,
Did
nu,
you
nu,
make
nu,
any
niciun fel
changes?
de modificare.
No
Pur și simplu,
changes.
Au ieșit și au măsurat.
They went out and they measured, they saw that everything was all right, and then it was registered, everything was registered.
Vedeți, Eu, dacă sincer,
You know,
asta trebuie de ridicat
honestly,
actele.
I
Pur și
have
simplu,
to look
dacă
into the
eram
documents.
preîntâmpinat, veneam
Should you
pregătit
have
cu
warned
actele
me,
necesare
I would be
și acordam,
prepared today here
răspunsuri
with the
mai-
necessary
mai-
documents, and I
mai
would be
detaliate.
able to provide you more detailed answers.
Bun, acestea sunt întrebări pentru doar de a
Well,
clarifica
these are
unele,
questions to clarify
aspecte ce
some
țin de,
aspects related to
aspectul financiare.
Eu,
your
dacă sincer,
financial
nu prea țin
matters.
minte. Asta
Honestly,
trebuie
I
de
don't
ridicat
quite
actele.
remember. I'd have to check the documents. I was not prepared for these questions.
Am avut întrebări, nu?
Thank you. I have no more questions.
Ultima întrebare, domnul
Last
Fujenco,
question,
dacă vreți.
Mr. Fujenco, if I
În
may.
declarațiile pe care le-ați făcut
In
comisiei,
the declaration,
ați
in
spus
your
că
statements to
toate
the Commission, you
cheltuielile
said that
noastre
all your
legate de această
expenses related to that
casă,
house,
inclusiv prețul
including
terenului,
the
al
price of a
imobilului,
land plot of a real
și
estate
lucrările de
and
construcții pe care
construction
le-ați făcut,
works that you
au
carried
fost de
out,
2,6
were
milioane de
2.6 million lei.
Cred că dacă așa a fost
Yes, I think so.
declarat,
Well,
așa
if I
și
declared that, it
În
means it
acest-
was true.
În aceste 2 milioane, 2,6
These
milioane
2.6
de lei
million lei
intră prețul
didn't
construcției
include
și
the
a
price of
terenului
a
de
construction and land plot
710.650 lei,
710, 650 lei,
iar diferența
and the difference
dintre valoarea totală și
between the
prețul
total
inițial
value
este
and
de
the initial prices,
1.889.349 de lei.
1,889,349
În
lei.
același timp,
At the
cheltuielile pe
same
care
time,
dumneavoastră le-ați
the
cuantificat și le-ați
expenses
introdus
that
și
you
în
quantified
declarația
and
de
you
avere și interes ca
entered into
cheltuieli
your declaration of assets and
considerabile,
interests, significant expenses,
cumulează un total de
add up to 1,231,635 lei.
Să explicați
Could you please explain
diferența dintre
the
aceste două
difference
sume.
between
Deci
these two
apare o
amounts?
diferență de
Because we have a difference of 657,715. Do you mean where I spent it? Yes, exactly.
Dacă
Unde și când?
When and where and when? Again, I am not ready now to state with certainty, but I don't know if you took into account and I declared the expenses related to services of those who carried out the repairs. That's labor. The labor.
Dumneavoastră ați introdus
But
lucrări de
you
reparație.
added the repair works. Yes, I mentioned.
Dar toate acele lucrări pe
But
care
all
le-ați
those
indicat
works that
împreună
you
însumează
mentioned add up to 1,231,000.
Deci rămân 600.000 care
This
nu
leaves 600 furniture.
au declarat și mobiliar.
You declared the furniture, and that was included too. Furniture, conditioners. We could look into the table that you filled out.
Asta e în ce rundă de întrebări, mă scuzați.
Which question round was this? Sorry, I just want.
Este tot pur și
I
simplu.
Prima
had.
rundă de întrebări.
It was round
La
one.
prima?
Da.
Yes.
Pe ecran aveți răspunsurile.
You can see
Rog
the.
colegii să mărească pe ecran
Please, colleagues,
pagina
zoom
respectivă, să
in
fie
to
doar o
that
singură
page on the
pagină.
screen to make it in one page only. You can see the answers there.
Astea sunt întrebările. Vă rog să arătați
These are the
răspunsurile.
questions.
domnului
Please
Fujenco.
show the answers of Mr. Fujenco.
Așa.
Dar posibil trebuie de declarat, adică de
Possibly
verificat
we
și
need to check
declarația mea pe venit pentru anul
my
respectiv.
income declaration for the
Acolo
year
posibil
too.
mai detaliat este descris
Maybe there's a
fiecare
more
serviciu
detailed
și
description of
fiecare,
every service
Da, și aceste
and
cheltuieli din declarație
these expenses from your declaration. You have them in front of you.
Însumate,
If
dacă
we
le adunăm
add them
toate,
up, all of them,
o să avem
we get
1.231.635 în timp ce
1,635,635
cheltuielile
lei.
totale pe care le-ați declarat
While
dumneavoastră,
all
fără
expenses,
prețul
total
proprietății,
expenses
sunt de
without the
1.889.000.
price that you declared is 1,800,000. Yes, but there is also construction
care nu poate fi
materials
declarat.
that cannot be declared
Deoarece a fost,
because,
nu de exemplu, eu
for
nu
instance,
știu,
I don't know.
multe, acolo materialele de construcție, eu am uitat, mă
I
scuzați.
forgot, sorry. The construction materials.
Reparația sau construcția
Because
casei,
repairing
nu
or
doar este
constructing a
alcătuită din
house does
ceea
not
ce am declarat,
consist
ci
only of what I declared. What I declared was based on the law. I believe that those were things to be declared as services exceeding or goods that are exceeding the amount, but there were many purchases, say paint, some other things. Where the these are construction materials. I recalled it now, I apologize. Those were construction materials that were invested in the house. Well, from what I understand, you purchased those materials from various suppliers, and none of those suppliers was paid more than the threshold that was making it mandatory to report in the declaration. I don't know if that is the right approach, because every good was used. For instance, I bought something, the question was closed. I did not keep records. Yes, I'm buying from different shops, but I did not keep records of where and when. It's really hard to recall it now. But it was like all these goods were separate. So you didn't make any singular purchase that would be higher than 10 average salaries, obviously. I have no more questions. Colleagues, please. Thank you. I can send you the answer from the expert so that you'd have it.
Scott, you're muted.
Thank you. If there are no further
Mulțumesc. Dacă nu
questions,
mai sunt întrebări.
Judge Fujenco, first, let me say, the commission, after the hearing, will decide whether it will accept your request to submit a report by an expert, and we'll advise you promptly of that decision. Second, let me ask now if you wish to say anything else today before we conclude the hearing.
Da, mă scuzați, pe scurt.
Yes, I will be brief.
Pe parcursul activității mele în domeniul
During my
justiției, mai
work
mult de
in
27 de
the
ani,
justice sector for more than 27 years, out of them almost 10 years as a prosecutor
și mai mult de 16
and
ani
more
în
than
calitate de
17 years as a judge,
niciodată n-am fost atras la răspundere
I have
disciplinară
never been
și
held
nu
up to
am avut
disciplinary
niciun dosar
liability,
pierdut
and
la
I
CEDA.
have never lost
De-a
any
lungul
case
întregii
at
mele
the
cariere,
ECHR.
am trăit cu
During my
credința
entire career, I lived
că a fi un
with the
judecător
belief
nu
that
este
being
doar o
a
profesie,
judge is not just
ci o
a profession.
chemare.
It is a
Pentru mine, a
vocation.
fi judecător este însuși
For me,
identitatea mea.
being a judge is my identity.
Funcția aceasta mă definește.
This
Am
position
slujit și
defines
slujesc
me. I
legea,
have served and I keep serving the law with integrity.
apăr dreptatea și
I
imparțialitatea
defend
și îmi
justice
definesc
and
existența prin responsabilitatea față de oameni
objectivity,
și
and I
statul de
fulfill
drept.
my duties towards people and the rule of law.
Eu am activat întotdeauna
I have
cu
always worked
bona fides,
with bona fides.
maximă responsabilitate,
Maximum
dedicație
responsibility, dedication, diligence,
și contencios.
and consciousness.
Și mulțumesc mult familiei mele,
I would like to thank my family,
apropiaților,
my close
prietenilor mei
persons
care
and
mi-au
friends
susținut pe
who
parcursul
supported
întregului
me
proces de
during
vetting și
the
mulțumesc
entire
mult
vetting
Comisiei.
process. And I would
că
like to
m-ați
thank
auzit
the
și m-ați
Commission for
ascultat.
hearing me, for listening to me. That's all.
We now have come to the end of today's hearing. Judge Fujenco, thank you for your submissions and your responses to the questions from the commission. After the hearing, the commission will approve an evaluation report stating its conclusion whether the subject meets the criteria for ethical and financial integrity under law number 252. The commission will strive to complete and approve its evaluation report and announce its conclusion as soon as possible. This hearing is now closed. Good evening to everyone.